We are discussing many aspects of communication. We discussed screaming and cursing. And I'd like to turn the tide today and discuss more positive side, which is called nonviolent communication. We're used to thinking that as long as you don't say lashon hara, onos dvarim, as long as you don't say words which are abusive, and as long as you stay away from slander, then you're right. But the truth is that the Torah demands much, much more than that of us. The Torah demands us, or demands, I shouldn't use the word demands, the Torah guides us to speak in an elevated way. As we said here many times, all of the Jewish people are children of kings. And when you're speaking to the child of a king, or even more, the king himself, you have to be very extremely careful how you speak, and that every single word that you say is crafted, handcrafted. The pasuk says like this: pasuk in Mishlei Yud Ches Chaf Aleph, Mavis b'chaim b'yad haloshen. The life and death are in the hands of the tongue, and it's an interesting expression, the hands of the tongue. The Gemara in Erech and Daf Tezvav Amud Beis takes issue with this. What does it mean, the hands of the tongue? Though, does the tongue really have hands? The tongue is in the mouth. And the Gemara says that just like the hands can kill, and so too the tongue can kill. And in fact, the Gra said in his famous famous letter that he wrote to his family when he left them to go into Gullus, into seclusion, personal seclusion for a extended of time, not seclusion to go into Gullus. He said like this. He writes in his letter that the tongue can give life and give death, right? And don't speak too much, the Gra said. In fact, even advised his wife and daughters not to go to shul because there's a lot of talk in the shul that could be potentially not the best thing to be said. And the Gra said even be careful how you praise people, because when you praise people, it could inevitably lead to say things that are not right as well, right? And as we said, life and death are in the hands of the tongue. A person has to be so careful. Every single word that comes out of their mouth has to be handcrafted. And the Malbim tells us a very, very deep idea here, right? There's really three organs, three separate parts of the body going on over here, right? The Malbim says this in he says it in Pasuk in Parak Yud Gimel, Pasuk Beis in Mishlei. He says that the mouth is the eighth, is a tree of life. The mouth is it's a tree of knowledge, Tov and Ra, right? So the mouth, he says, is a remez, is a hint to wisdom, and the lips are wisdom, or remez, or hints to das, which we know, and the tongue is to bina. So the mouth speaks, and the tongue cuts it up, as it were. Bina is when you have chachma. Chachma is the understanding of something, right? We understand. You're talking to a friend. You should say positive things, but which words should you use, right? The Gemara says, how careful do we have to be when we speak? Even if you're talking to someone, say, wow, look at those fish hanging up over there. And his great 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 grandfather was hung, and you did a transgression. You have to be careful. Be so sensitive to the implication of every single word that you say. And that's the tongue. The tongue, as it were, slices up what you're going to say, your understanding, and allows you to get the right words out. And finally, the lips are das. We could close our lips could be sealed, or we could open our lips and say things which are words of comfort, words of joy. Last night I was by the shiva of the parents of Ai Shupak, was killed in the recent uh, terror attack, and I listened to the way people speak. And some people, it felt like they were speaking because they wanted to get their words out. And some people were speaking with very, very carefully, with incredible sensitivity to connect to the Father and to make him feel good. One person there said, you're sitting here and listening to what we're saying. It's so incredible. I could just sit here and listen. He was really listening. Very, very humble and fine person. You could see the way that he was listening. And that's really when you could see how a person speaks really when they're in a base Abba with a Shiva house, because there takes incredible sensitivity really to say the right words. And this is something we have to keep in mind at all times, right? We have to keep in mind these beautiful words of Rabbeinu Yonah, that just like there's three parts to the mouth, there's the mouth itself, and that's our chachma. That allows us to think of what we're going to say. And then there's the tongue, which is the bina. Everything that comes into your mind, don't say it. Choose carefully your words. And then there are the lips, which are the das. The das is the connection between the chachma and the bina, the wisdom and the insight. And to say the words, which are the most powerful and the most potent that we could possibly say. This is life and death are in the hands of the tongue. I want to show you a beautiful, beautiful Chazal, famous story that about it was about, I believe it was about Rebbe, that it was Rebbe Gamliel, I believe. Rebbe Gamliel made a Suda, and he told his Misharas, he told his servants, yeah, go and buy some tongue and prepare it very carefully. Cook some of them very well, and some of them less. Some of them should bake, and some of them you should cook in water. And so some will be very hard, and some will be very soft. Right? And then when he saw that the people in the Suda, they were like feeling out which tongues are soft and which tongues are hard, he said, do the same thing when you speak. Choose the tongue that is soft. Choose it. You have to know that words are under your control. The Maharal says an incredible idea. The Maharal says, "Lo matzasi leguf tov mishtika." Says the Maharal in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that when you're talking, you can't think. It's not possible to use this and this at the same time. First, you have to use this, and then you use this. First, you use your mind and think, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? How am I going to present it? Yeah. And then, only afterwards, you say it. Now, if you're a person who's married, and you have children, or you're not married, but you have parents, or you have friends, or you have neighbors, or you have a chavrusa, or you have a roommate, or a friend, yeah, you probably engage daily in communication with these people, right? And you have to know some of the words you could say can give life, and some of the words you could say could give death. You have to be so careful. Choose your words very carefully. You never know if the person in the shul on a right or on a left is maybe contemplating suicide. You know? And I've come across quite a number of people in my lifetime who really were at that level. And when I found out, I tried my best to choose words which give people life. And every single person we meet, we should choose to give them life as much as we can. And how do we do that? We do it by first using this and then using this. Remember what the Malbim says. This is the Eitz Hadas Tovah, the tree of knowledge, right? Which Adam Arishan ate from is right over here. Yeah, we can use our mouth to think. First, before we're using, the Malbim is saying, first before you talk, think, and then um, before you utter the words, use your bina, right, which is here in the heart, and then, right, you should put it all together with das, right? When you open your lips, speak, it should be with das. And if you do that and think, what could I do to give this person life? What could I do to make this person feel really, really good? As I always tell the story that happened to me with my Rebbe, Nachman Bullman Zatzal, when I put out my Sefer Yorabina, which is an encyclopedia on kashrus, and I spent years and every Thursday night for 2 years I didn't sleep the whole night working on this safer. My next door neighbor, Rabbi, whose house is like the Shechina, Moshe Schaefer, could testify that Thursday nights I didn't sleep working on this book for years and years and years. And then the day came out, and I brought it to a certain shul, and I put it down, and there was a big lamdan there, like one of these people, like big lamdan. And he looked at the book and he said, Rabbi Travis, I really thought that you could produce a quality work. And you know what he did? It was like an arrow going through my heart. It's really, really hard. And that was after some relatives were visiting me. And they also looked at the book like it was absolutely nothing. And I was in a lot of pain. I'll be frank with you. I was in incredible pain after this experience. And then I went across the street, Rehov Zevin, in Neve Yaakov. And I went to the house of Nachman Bullman. And I knocked on the door, and he opened the door, and he took the book, and he said, you know what, Rabbi Travis, just wait a minute. And he went into his room, and he brought out an envelope, which had in it 1,000 shekels. And he said, you know what, I really want to pay for this book 1,000,000 shekels. I don't have it on me right now, so I'm giving you a down payment of 1,000 shekels. Yeah. And it's not even close to what it's worth, but I just want to like start my payment. And then he pointed out the window where there was a number of Arabs who were building on the mountain separating Neve Yaakov from the Arab community, which is there, and they're building down and down. He said, you see these Arabs over here? He said, if they knew what was going on over here with Torah like your book, they would run away as quick as possible. And you know what? He saved my life. There was Chaim Umavis Biadalash. Yeah. I had just been killed by two insensitive people, and they're not bad people. They just didn't learn how important it is to be careful with your tongue. Right? They're very wonderful people. They just hadn't had the privilege to have teachers who taught them how important it is to be careful with your tongue. And then I went to the house of Nachman Bullman, and he saved my life. Yeah, he saved my life. He gave me life with these warm, considerate thought words. These were words that came from here and here and here. It was Chochmah, Bina, and Das. He used all faculties of understanding to properly save me from the terrible experience of verbal pain that I experienced that day. And we could all do this. We all have the power to save people's lives with our speech. So do it today, right? And if someone is verbally abusive to you, yeah, it's probably because they're suffering. Now, you don't have to choose to be in such a relationship. But if you are in such a relationship and you can't get out, or right now you're there, try it. Try being extremely sensitive and kind and thoughtful. These people are probably in intense, when I say intense, I mean like nuclear explosive pain probably going on in their heart. And that's probably why they're expressing it in such strong terms. So what should you do? Just speak to them with sensitivity, with kindness, with thought, with understanding, with warmth. And you'll see that you're giving them life. You're saving these people. After 120 years, when you get to Shemaim, you're going to get up there and it's going to be like bustling with people. And you're going to say, like, who are these people? And the people in Shemaim, not people, the angels in Shemaim will say, these are the people whose lives you saved. Yeah. And there'll be rovavos, there'll be tens of thousands. So Kadosh Baruch Hu should help us with the Siyata D'Shemaya. Every single word that comes out of our mouth, just like Rabbi Gamliel said, choose your words very carefully. Be soft. When you speak with your tongue, be soft, be kind, and be considerate. Hashem should help us in this very worthy endeavor because it's not easy. As the Maharal says, you can't use this and this at the same time. First you have to think, then you speak. Hashem should give us Siyata D'Shemaya to accomplish this. Amen. Kain Tei Ratzak.